can you talk a little bit more about like how using styled shoots, setting up more like editorial type photos, how we can use that to elevate our brand? I mean, you've already talked a little bit about like how how you did that with Big Sur and like wanting more weddings out there, and then you just put together a styled shoot, and then those weddings started coming in.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing to do is like, I feel like you have to have a really good and clear understanding of your brand, like of what
Mm.
you want your brand to be. Um, Especially when you're just kind of starting, you just kind of take whatever you can get. Obviously, like you have bills to pay, no judgment there. But
Yeah.
I just think once you start to get to a place where you're like, I want to kind of refine who I'm trying to capture and not just I'm just trying to capture everyone. Um, Having that clear understanding of your brand and then taking it to the next step of like going through your portfolio, seeing what's missing in your portfolio, and then taking it one more step to then now design something that like your that's like going to your goal or something your portfolio is missing.
Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being on the show. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited about this topic. I love doing styled shoots and getting more into like more editorial stuff. I was one of those people that was like, no, I'm not an editorial photographer, and like against it. And I was against like film photography, and I was against a lot of things. And then I realized that it was just like, I don't know, like biases. It's like the photographers that are like, well, I would never photograph a wedding. Like that's below
Mhm,
me. And I was
mhm.
like taking that in and projecting that on other things. And now I'm just like, yes, absolutely 100%. I will do a styled shoot. I will do an editorial. I love film now. I've got all the film cameras around here. But yeah, I'm excited to chat a little bit more about this from an expert in styled shoots and all of that, and like how we can use this to elevate our brand. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Thanks, me too. I don't think I've ever heard someone say they were against film photography. I'm like, "What?"
Yeah,
That's
like I
interesting.
even started with film, and
Same.
then I was just like, oh no, digital is so much easier and I can get more photos. And it was one of those things where like the clientele that I had when I first started off was like super budget, because I was super budget prices. And they were always asking like, well, how many photos do I get? And can I get
Mhm.
like, just you just take photos the entire time for like, I do an hour couple session and then deliver like 200, 300 photos. And yeah, it was that like, well, I can't do that with film, because one, that would be super expensive to deliver 300 photos. But yeah, now I love film. I love the intentionality behind it. It has also caused me to slow down a lot with
Mhm.
my digital work and really compose things well, to shoot as if I have 36 shots on this camera and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's something that I really love now, but yeah, 10 years ago, not so much.
I totally understand. I My grandfather was a wedding photographer, and so when he was a wedding photographer, he shot weddings with film, and
Hmm.
your gallery, like the would be a little printed album, like the photos were like this big,
Yep.
and it was film, and you maybe get 30, maybe not even that, maybe like 20 photos from your wedding day. And so I always started with film and I hated digital. Like I still, when I have a film photo and a digital photo, I'm like, I don't even want to look at the digital like ever.
Nope.
So that's so funny. I totally relate.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you know what he photographed with? Like what cameras?
Yeah, I have all his cameras. So
Oh,
his
cool. I
like
was wondering if that was like passed down to you. So that's
yeah,
awesome.
I have all his cameras. So it's like a Mamiya 645. Like that was his like workhorse.
Hmm.
And then a ton of 35s, like just Canons. There's what's it called? Like Vivitar. Like there's just a ton of old 35s, which I love. It
Oh
has
yeah.
lots of like light leaks. They're so good.
Yes. Yeah. My Vivitar has a light leak. Just like top right corner, it's just every single photo. So I'm like, this is gonna be like more of like the fun experimental stuff.
Exactly. That
Whenever I
stuff
use
looks
that one.
so good in like bright sun. Like I feel like
Hmm.
the beach, it like shines, like seeing like this light leak and this like I don't know. I love film cameras. They're the best and yeah, with all their quirks.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. There's something about like the imperfection of like even just like getting dust on the scans or something, and
Mhm.
just like having that little bitty speck of dust on a photo is just like it brings something more to it, more character than just like the super polished, crisp digital photos.
Yes.
But okay, so before we kind of do a little intro for you, I like to ask a couple questions
Mhm.
to really get to know you more. So, Kelley, I have a few questions. Pick two numbers between 1 and 17.
Oh, okay. Let's go number 8 and number 13.
Okay. Number 8, what is your favorite smell?
Ooh, I love like lavender. And I don't know what the smell is, but I love like ocean or like an ocean misty, breezy, whatever that
Yeah.
smell is.
Yeah, like that little bit of salt in the air and
Yeah, I love
just like
that.
clean, crisp air. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I used to really love lavender. My wife was a massage therapist for
Yeah.
11 years. So she hates lavender because she's like all of the lotions, all of the things just like lavender, and it's jasmine, and yeah, she was like, we cannot have lavender candles in our house. We cannot have potpourri or anything because it just like takes her right back to work.
Yes.
But
That's
yeah, it's good.
understandable though.
Yeah, it's a good one. Um, and I've had a couple lavender lattes that were
Cool.
pretty good. I'm not big into floral notes in my coffee,
Mm.
but there's a local place that does a pretty good lavender latte if that's your style. Um, okay, and then you said number 13. So number
Yeah.
13 is, what is the last song that was just like on repeat, either in your head or just like you were just on Spotify over and over again?
Oh my gosh. I can't think of like a song, but I love Hosier. So he released an album
Yeah.
last year. So I feel like his newest album has just been on repeat, just
Oh yeah.
always. It's
Yeah.
just so good.
Yeah, I need to revisit that one because I listened to it when he first released it and it's very good. And I love his voice. It's just like that like deep, like guttural type singing that I'm just like, you feel the passion in it. And it's not
Yeah.
just like I mean, some of the songs are kind of happy, but it's not just like a easy listening. It's just like emotion. You can feel that he means what he's singing about. So
Absolutely. And it's
yeah,
like
I'm
such
gonna
a
have to
story.
listen to that this afternoon.
Yes, I
Yes.
love it.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Cool. Well, now that we know your favorite smells and that you like Hosier, tell us a little bit about Kelley Williams, where you're based, what you do, all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, I am a wedding photographer based out of California. I'm originally from Maryland, so like born and raised. So I definitely rep like East Coast, West Coast.
Nice.
Which I do say like East Coast is the best coast, but I mean, don't tell Californians that. But so yeah, I started well, I've always as I mentioned before, my grandfather was a wedding photographer, so I feel like it's kind of hard to say when I started with photography just because I mean, like literally he was a wedding photographer, so photos and cameras have always been a part of my life.
Hmm.
Um, I'll definitely say I went professional, like my first like paying customer was probably like 8 or 9 years ago. Um, and yeah, I kind of got into weddings really quickly. I was a portrait photographer. I kind of had a mentor who was very much like, don't shoot weddings. They're a waste of there's so much time, so much effort. Um,
Mhm.
and even my grandfather, who was a wedding photographer, would say the same thing, like, they're so expensive, like, because he obviously shot them. And so I was not like gung ho about weddings, not like that I was negative about them. I was just like, oh, like I love portrait photography. I still love portrait photography. So I'm like, there's no need for me to change. Like, I love what's happening with my life and my business. And I had a bride who reached out to me and she was like, I really love your portrait work. Like, I really want you to shoot my wedding. And I think I was trying to get her to not book me. I think I said, like, I've never shot a wedding. Like, you don't want me to shoot your wedding. She's like, no, 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 but I do. I was like, no, but you don't because I've never done that before. Um, but she convinced me really to shoot her wedding. I think I only charged her like $400 and I was there for 12 hours, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but like I loved it so much. And obviously she liked her photos. Her maid of honor hired me for her wedding and it just kind of spiraled. Where I just started shooting more weddings. So I didn't like get into it kind of. I feel like people start with portraiture, maybe they second shoot a bunch and then they start weddings. I like did not second shoot probably until like my second year of being a wedding photographer. Um, but I feel like it really threw me into the deep end and I love it. I love weddings. They're just my jam.
Yeah. That's awesome that she had to talk you into it. Like, no, Kelly, really, you're gonna want to do this.
It
uh,
just felt like so much pressure. I'm like, have
it's
never
so
shot a
much.
wedding. Like, why do you want me to
Yeah.
do that? Like, I panicked about it for weeks, like up to until I just kept thinking I'm gonna like get there and forget my camera, forget my memory card, or I'm gonna miss the kiss. Like I was just so
Oh yeah.
anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get those nightmares? I have those like wedding photographer nightmares every now and then where I just have the dream of like I'm showing up at a wedding and then I open the back seat of my car and then there's no camera there and I have to be like, "Oh yeah. Okay." And then I'm like rushing to go get my camera and missing the ceremony and like these crazy things of or like not having memory cards or not charging batteries the night before. And it's like these are the only nightmares that I have nowadays are nightmare weddings. Luckily, none of that has come to pass in real life. But it's funny that you say like you just kind of got thrown into it because I also just got thrown into it. I in college I worked at a wedding venue, like helping put out chairs and helping with catering and all of that. And then one day they had a couple that was super low budget. They were like, we're looking for someone for like $250. We'll pay you. It's a small little intimate wedding. And I was like, that's great. That's over $10 an hour because I'm going to be there, or $20 an hour because I'm going to be there for 10 hours.
Oh
And
my god.
yeah, and then I loved it. And I also didn't really want to, but it was good money for 250 bucks back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was and then I just like you, I was like kind of snowballed into more and now I just love it. But yeah, it is like the first few years it's very nerve-wracking, and even every now and then I'm just like, they're trusting me with a lot. This is a very important day for them, and like they're trusting me to capture all of it. Uh,
Mhm.
it's something that can kind of get used to, but it's also like a really big deal. No matter how many weddings you've shot, it's still a big deal for them because it's their one.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely. I was telling, I coach other photographers, like newer photographers, and this sweet girl was telling me, she was like, when will I not feel so anxious? Like, when will I not have like fever dreams about going to a wedding? She's like, I love weddings, but
yep.
my anxiety is just so high. And I definitely feel like experience and like being over prepared will like helps people with anxiety. So I don't know if anyone's listening to this who is like still super anxious about weddings.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like it does get better. Like my anxiety is so much better many, many years and many, many weddings later. But yeah, that first wedding, I just couldn't sleep for a week. It was crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and like you said, like as you go on, you get more and more prepared. Like
Yeah.
for I didn't really have like a shot list or like a mental shot list of different family groupings and everything after the ceremony. For my first few, I was just like, I don't know, y'all tell me who you want pictures of. And I would miss a few. Like I had one where I missed a photo of like the bride and her dad together and she was really upset
Mhm.
about that and I was like, I should probably prepare. And like
Yeah.
each wedding, there's like one thing that you can kind of like add to your little toolbox of like, oh, this will help me get more prepared for the next one. And then
Yes.
eventually you're going into it just like, yeah, I feel completely prepared and ready to go rock this whole wedding.
For
But yeah,
sure.
yeah. Okay. So I know we're talking about styled shoots today, and we're talking about how we can like plan those, take part of styled shoots, do more editorial work, and use that to elevate your brand. Did you just jump in the deep end with styled shoots too, just like starting your own, or did you attend some first? How did you kind of get into doing styled shoots?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you can tell, I'm a very like dive in type of person. So, yeah, I was shooting weddings, but they were all kind of like super low budget. Like I was just starting out. Um, and at the time I lived in Monterey. So Monterey is like 20 minutes from Big Sur. It's super close.
Hmm.
And I really wanted to shoot more in Big Sur. Like I always took couples there for engagement sessions. And I'm like, how come I can't get a wedding in Big Sur? Like it's so close. Um, and basically I was just like, I need the content. And I needed the content for specifically a wedding. I had tons of like engagement sessions, but I needed wedding content. And I just like reached out to a local florist who I see like followed her on Instagram. So like saw that she did styled shoots. Um, I wasn't sure exactly what they were, but I knew like the concept of like I'm gonna bring people together and I'm gonna shoot it and then like I'll just share all my images and we all kind of like bring something to the table. Um, and so yeah, I tried to get a planner to work with me, but like no planner work with me, which I honestly understand because my work wasn't that great. And I didn't have the experience, so I could understand like a planner with like tons of experience is like, why is this girl reaching out to me?
Right.
Um, so yeah, I respect it. I'm not like upset about it. Like I respect it. So yeah, I really had a planner. I mean, sorry, I just had the florist. I became the planner and photographer, and we just kind of divided and conquered. Like she found the models. I bought a dress from Goodwill. I like went to Goodwill in like Santa Cruz. And I got this like older woman who was in front of me because it was like senior day. She like bought it for me. And I just gave her the
Okay.
cash. It's like on senior day, it's like half off for seniors.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay,
So
that's the way to
I
do it.
got yeah, so like this random woman, that's Santa Cruz though. But so I got this dress for like $30, a wedding dress. It was beautiful. It's like lacy. Um, what else? We like found a venue. Thank goodness, like an actual venue let us come there, which is crazy. And
That's
yeah,
great.
everything we used for the shoot, I like got on Goodwill. Like we didn't have money really, so like for a budget for like rentals and all this other stuff. So yeah, everything I got from Goodwill, we designed it. My florist just made like a bouquet basically and like a centerpiece. Um, yeah, and that was like our first shoot and it got published, so I guess it was okay. And
Yeah,
after like that brought me like more wedding work. I feel like it gave me more like credibility too to be like published. Um, and yeah, so after that, I saw like the immediate benefits of it. So I just kind of went head first of like going hard for some styled shoots. And yeah, it's like changed my business for sure.
yeah. I love that it wasn't just like I did this giant production and had 15 different vendors and, spent thousands of dollars to get all this together. You were just like, okay, I'm going to reach out to this florist. And then
Yeah.
once you got that under, you're like, okay, now we need to find a dress. Now we need to find some models. And it's like, just, you don't have to do, because I know for me, like whenever I first started thinking about styled shoots, it was just like, well, these are big productions, because I always saw styled shoots featured in magazines, and they were
Mm-hmm.
big productions because they were for a magazine, and they, had all of that money to bring in all these models and get the high end resort type
Yeah.
venue. But yeah, like I love that a styled shoot doesn't have to be super big budget. It can just be even like reaching out to friends, or even I've done styled shoots before where I just reached out to a couple and I was like, I know we've already done your engagement photos, but like y'all are super fun to work with. Would you want to be models for this thing coming up? And then that worked out where I didn't have to go find models,
Yeah.
especially when you're planning to do a styled shoot in another city. That is pretty difficult to do. um,
For sure.
but
Models are
yeah.
always the hardest part, I feel like, of every styled shoot.
Yes. Oh
They're
yeah.
they're the hardest. But yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree. I don't think, and we can talk about this later, but I don't think every styled shoot needs to be a big production. I feel like it's mainly what your brand needs and like what your portfolio needs. Like that is kind of the purpose of a styled shoot, in my opinion. So they don't all need to be gigantic productions. It could just be, what is your portfolio missing? And you're like creating that great like portfolio piece.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, it doesn't need to be huge. Like I think that's really good to assess where you are and like, why are you wanting to do a styled shoot? What is it that you're wanting to bring to your portfolio, to your business, to your brand? Then go do that. Like
Yes.
I've been trying to put together this styled shoot where I want to do, and listeners, you can steal this from me. I don't care. But tag me in the photos because I want to see too. But I want to do like a styled shoot with like a vintage car, like maybe like 70s style, like with the roll down crank windows and everything, and just do a road trip photo shoot where I'm just like in the back seat, and it's just like a love story of them like hitting fast food joints on the way and just like eating on the hood of the car and that kind of stuff. And so many people have turned me down on that. And I just, yeah, I need to like actually get real models and stop asking couples, because no one is like, well, I don't know, we don't really eat fast food. I'm like, ah, just for photos, I'll eat the food, it's fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like that's the kind of vibe that I'm wanting to bring more into my brand. So yeah, like that kind of thinking of where you're wanting to go, because here in Texas we got a ton of barn venues, which can be beautiful. They can be great, but a lot of the photographers that I coach around here, they're just like, I'm stuck in barns all the time, and it's
Yeah.
because they're sharing photos of weddings in a barn, and styled shoots are a great way to take like get that portfolio in either a location like Big Sur, or a different venue like, not a barn, and have that for your portfolio to share. So yeah.
Yeah, and that is the same here. I know people don't think about like California and like barns necessarily, but especially where
Hmm.
I live, it's like pretty rural, I would say. I live on coast, like I live on the central coast, so like I'm on the coast, but like I'm in between like LA and San Francisco. So there's not much around me. It's like 4 hours to San Francisco north or 4 hours to LA south, and there's
Yeah.
just like so barns and like ranches are huge here. There's lots of ranch weddings and barn weddings,
Hmm.
which is also not my vibe. Like I'm from the city, like I'm from Baltimore, like I grew up in a city. I like went to school in New Jersey, like worked in New York, like I'm a city girl. And so a barn venue was just not my vibe. But I love wineries. Like I have wine memberships. Like I love going to wineries. It's like an activity here. I
Oh
know
yeah.
like lots of people might not live near wineries, but like there's not much to do here except for like hike, go to the beach, or go to a winery. So
I mean, all
that's
of those sound great to me.
I know. And we call it like the sunshine tax. That's why like, living in California is so expensive
Yes.
because we just
Yeah.
have beautiful sunshine and all those activities. But yeah, so I had to just kind of a lot of the styled shoots I did, especially once I moved here where I live now, I'm from Monterey, um, was all like at wineries. Like I had to push that because if I didn't, I would just be stuck in barn weddings. And like you said, like there's nothing wrong with a barn wedding, but that's just like
Mhm.
not my aesthetic. And like I'm more excited about like going to a winery personally.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you said that, like, there's nothing wrong with a barn wedding, because
Yeah.
absolutely there's nothing wrong. I still shoot barn weddings. It's just like the type of wedding has changed, the clientele has changed, where it's not so much the barn wedding with the like actual straw hay bales for seating.
Yeah.
And now it's more like an elegant barn where they have like chandeliers and stuff, kind of bringing it up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's so easy as a venue owner to just like transform a barn into a venue than to,
For sure.
you know, take some. I was gonna say castle. We don't really have castles here. I don't know. I don't think y'all have castles much in California either. But that was the first thing that popped in my head. It was like, you either can turn a barn into a venue or a castle, and people just keep going barns for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
But okay, can you talk a little bit more about like how using styled shoots, setting up more like editorial type photos, how we can use that to elevate our brand? I mean, you've already talked a little bit about like how you did that with Big Sur and like wanting more weddings out there, and then you just put together a styled shoot, and then those weddings started coming in.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing to do is like, I feel like you have to have a really good and clear understanding of your brand, like of what
Mm,
you want your brand to be. Um, Especially when you're just kind of starting, you just kind of take whatever you can get. Obviously, like you have bills to pay, no judgment there. But
yep.
I just think once you start to get to a place where you're like, I want to kind of refine who I'm trying to capture and not just I'm just trying to capture everyone. Um, Having that clear understanding of your brand and then taking it to the next step of like going through your portfolio, seeing what's missing in your portfolio, and then taking it one more step to then now design something that like your that's like going to your goal or something your portfolio is missing. Um, I think that's kind of the chain. So, and I like to think of like, oh, I just want to say a difference between like a style shoot and an editorial. I feel like they're kind of the same, but like also very different. I would say a style shoot is more like a collaboration of
Okay.
vendors, whereas like an editorial, and it's typically weddings. I'd say style, it's typically, it's like coupley, weddingy,
Right.
that's the
Yeah. Yeah.
vibe. Whereas an editorial does not have to be wedding related, does not have to be couple related. It can be just a single model, male or female. It usually has an emphasis on like super high end, like name brand designer stuff. Um, and oftentimes, because they're more extreme than a styled shoot, they're going to be more expensive, right? So
Hmm.
I've done an editorial where I filled like a library with flowers, like floor to ceiling flowers. Well, I not me, my florist did, but
Okay. Yeah.
floor
Still,
to
that is
ceiling.
a lot.
It was a lot, and like she wasn't in a wedding dress. I got like this like pink fluffy dress from this designer in London, and so all that is more expensive. But I also was not trying to necessarily attract a wedding client for that. It's like more
Hmm.
so, or I mean, yes and no. It's kind of like my ideal client now is like obviously they're more drawn to like my creativity and like my portrait work, my design aesthetic, like that's kind of what I'm more reaching for. So that made sense. If that am I sorry, am I rambling?
Yeah. No, no, that's great. I'm just like soaking it in. I'm like, yes, okay. I'm trying
Yeah.
to picture, like, I need to scroll back through your feed and see these photos because they
Oh
sound
yeah.
amazing with
I'll send it to
all the
you.
floors. Okay.
I definitely peaked at that one. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, so I just feel like understanding that difference between like a styled shoot and editorial, and like where you are in your business, what makes more sense for your business.
Hmm.
Um, and I think as a photographer, the more you kind of do it yourself, I hope like planners aren't upset at this, but I feel like for your first couple shoots, you should be like the planner too. Like you should organize it, you should design it so it fits your brand best. Um, and I say that also because when you're the one reaching out to the vendors, you're building the relationships with the vendors. Um,
Yes.
Not that there's anything wrong with a planner. I love a planner. But I think you also gain a whole new respect and admiration for planners you work with if you do a couple styled shoots on your own.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
but yeah, it just like really helps build your relationships with vendors, helps build your appreciation for planners. And I think the biggest thing is it keeps it your vision, right? Like these images overall should represent your brand and like what you want it to be. So you have to have kind of full creative control when it comes to that.
Yeah, yeah, and and also not to hurt any feelings of any planners out there, but I have done some style shoots before where I went to a planner and was like, "Hey, could you help me get this together?" And then at the end of it, it wasn't my vision. Once
Yeah.
everything came together, I was like, "Oh, but these aren't really the colors that we talked about, and this isn't the exact dress that we had talked about." She was like, "Oh no, but like, we were able to get this one and I thought this one was cool." I was like, "Okay." And yeah, it still turned out great, but it was different, and it was mainly just a communication lack of communication between the two of us. For one, communicate very well with styled shoots, anyone that you're working with, vendors, planners, models, all of that. Um, but also I love that you mentioned that about networking, because that's what, whenever I moved here, I was originally in Austin, Texas, and then moved out. I'm in College Station, Texas now, and I was like, I know no one in College Station. I don't know any of these venues, and
Yeah.
I just like searched on Google and found a venue, asked them if they would be down for me doing a styled shoot out there. They can use all the photos, and then I just reached out to vendors, and some of them are still like vendors that I have really close relationships with 8 years later, and we do a ton of work together because we worked together and built that connection in a styled shoot.
Yeah.
um, uh, but yeah, and also don't be afraid of no. I know a lot of times we're afraid of getting that like, oh no, or just ghosting. It's like, if they ghost you, that's fine. Like at least you asked, and at least you got it out there and was like, would you work with me? No. All right, cool. Maybe in a few years after I have some of these styled shoots under my belt, then
Yeah.
they'll be asking to do a styled shoot with you.
I agree. Like, never be afraid of the no. I mean,
Yeah.
that first styled shoot I put on where I didn't really have a portfolio, I had I reached out to, I think it was like 37 bridal stores looking for a dress, and they all said no. So that's why I had to
Yeah.
just go buy one. I was like, I'll just go to Goodwill and buy one. And I feel like,
Yeah.
especially nowadays, it's so much easier. There are so many dress rental companies online.
Yeah.
Like, that did not exist. You had to, like, only get a dress at a bridal store when I was
Oh
doing my
yeah.
second shoot. So, I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. I remember the first few that I did, like I had to, like, for the tuxes, I
Mhm,
was going and like renting a tux.
mhm.
And then one that I did somewhat recently, it was whenever like the black tux or black
Yeah.
box, what is it? The shipping tux rental, that they like just came on the scene, and I reached out to them. They're like, "Oh yeah, we'll send you a few for free, and like as long as we can use the photos," because they were looking for more like user generated content, and just like, we need real photos. Can you take these? And it was great because I just like shipped it back. Um, but yeah, I love that you also like bought that dress for $30, or via the senior discount, and got that deal, because then you didn't have to worry about like putting down a deposit just in case the dress gets dirty, and having to like refrain from certain poses because like, well, I don't want to do this just in case we get some of the like the red dirt on the dress. So, we'll have to stick to the safe shots. You were able to just do whatever. And if the dress got ruined, it was $30. So, didn't have to worry about it.
Exactly. And I'll do that now. Like I travel a lot, so if ever I'm traveling somewhere and I want to do a shoot, I will buy a dress and my budget has increased slightly. Maybe it's
Okay.
$100.
Yeah.
But it's still not much more than that. Usually like it's somewhere like if a dress rental company is kind of like going out of business or they're like changing their inventory out, so they'll sell a bunch of those dresses that have been used in shoots
Hmm.
and they'll sell them for like 100 to like $200. I will buy them and travel with them. And then I can like, they can get shredded, torn. I don't care. And then I just donate them when I come back home.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Okay. That's a really good tip for anyone who's just like, I want to do this, but I have like a minuscule budget. Um, this is a great way to like get scrappy and get out there and find some ways that you can don't go. I bought some wedding dresses a few years ago and they're terrible. They're not trendy at all. They're like started they had like yellowed a little bit around the buttons because they were old, and I was like, I'm not gonna. I bought these because I was like, ooh, yeah, wedding dresses. I'll use them for styled shoots. And I've never used them because they look terrible. So don't buy a terrible looking one. But yeah, like the lacy dresses, like you can pass off, like especially if you're doing like more of a elopement styled
Mm-hmm.
shoot,
Yeah,
like just a nice white lacy dress that is an easy elopement style wedding dress. Um,
absolutely. And like so
but
many
okay.
businesses have like, you can rent like bridal suits, like short dresses, long dresses. There's so many options.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and in reaching out uh to like bridal boutiques about like what is something that y'all want to feature, like a dress that you really
Mhm.
want to get some photos of, because I did that once and they were like, oh, we have this one that has like black flowers sewn into
Oh,
it
cool.
and we really like this one and we want to start marketing it. And I'm like, that sounds cool. Also, right up my alley with like darkness and black and having like those dark colors in the wedding. Um,
Yeah.
but
And
yeah.
I would say venues are the same way. Like, if you reach out to a venue and say, like,
Mhm.
"Hey, is there an area or a spot at your venue that you feel like just doesn't get enough love?" Like, because venues get kind of caught in the trap too of like, if a couple sees them set a ceremony here and a reception here, they will do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, then every photo is like the exact same. This is the ceremony spot. This is where they have the reception. And venue owners kind of want to switch it up. Like they have huge properties. They want to like focus on different areas. So you can use that same tip for a venue too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that's such a great piece of advice to, because that'll get you a yes a lot more often than
Mhm.
just, hey, can I use your venue? But like, is there a place in your venue that you'd like to showcase? I'm doing a styled shoot and would love to showcase that in the
Yeah.
styled shoot. Love your venue, blah blah blah. Don't include the blah blah blah, but just other stuff. But
Exactly.
yeah. Okay, Kelly, this has been great. This has been really good. Is there any like last words for the listeners, for anyone who's listened to this, they're feeling inspired. They already are just like, okay, cool. I got some places, some thrift stores that I need to go check out some wedding dresses and go set up a styled shoot. What are some things that they should do leading up to that?
Um, just kind of what I went through before, just like focus on your brand. Like, what does your portfolio
Mhm.
really need? Like, what are some key images you feel like you really want that your portfolio is missing? Think about this like styled shoe is your brand shoot. It's like your Coca-Cola ad, you know what I mean? For your business. So figure out what you need before you go into it and start small. You don't need to start big. Start small. Work with a core team. Have fun.
Mhm.
Don't play
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah. Yes. Don't play it safe. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. And Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I need to do a styled shoot. I have a workshop coming up, so that's kind of like a styled shoot.
Yes.
Um, but I'm also using minimal things because it's mostly like off-camera flash, and I'm like, we don't need
Fun.
a big old production for this. It'll be good
Yeah.
with just like a couple. Um, but yeah, I want to do like
So fun though.
a full one. It's been a couple years since I've actually done a styled shoot. So
Well, I
cool. You've
love your car
inspired me.
idea.
This is gonna be good.
I love
Okay,
your road
cool.
car.
Yeah, I need to get on that. I need to do
Yeah.
that. I need to reach out to some people. I have a few friends who have like vintage cars. They probably wouldn't be too happy with us eating food inside, but maybe we'll just have the bags or something.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
you could do a sponsorship with In and Out. Uh,
Exactly.
but yeah, well, Kelly, before we let everyone know like where to find you and everything, there's part of the show that I like to do where we talk about what we're loving this week, and it can be literally anything from like a new book, TV show, movie, the weather, whatever. What are you loving this week?
Okay, I am loving the show Traders. Have you seen the show Traders?
I
It's so
think
good.
that's come up on like a hey, you would be interested in this. You should add it to your list.
I
What
mean,
is it
they're
about?
I like the first season better. I'll explain the first season. So
Okay.
basically, they bring together a mix of celebrities and just everyday people, put them in a castle in Scotland, and
Okay.
out of the whole group, let's say it's like 20 people, three people are traitors. So three people every night murder someone. Not really, obviously,
Okay.
but
Like,
they
oh, okay. This is an interesting show.
they like kick someone off basically. And
Okay.
the people who are not traitors, so no one knows who the traitors are, but the
Yeah.
everyone is trying to find the traitors, so they vote out a person at the end of every episode. So they vote out a
Mm,
person, and obviously you don't know who the traitor is, so they get it wrong more than not. And then
right.
the traitors, after they have a vote that night, the traitors murder someone. So how it ends, you're like, what is the show? How it ends is that at the very end, they can vote to say, like, okay, I feel like we got out all the traitors and we don't need to continue this process. We're all done, right?
Hmm.
If they do that and say, like, you're right, we got out all the traitors. Everyone here is like faithful and not a traitor. If there's still a traitor in the mist, the traitor wins all the money that they do, like, competitions for. The traitor wins all the money. If they kick
Okay.
out the traitor, they split the money.
Okay. Okay.
You're
That
like,
I mean,
wait, what?
it's like
It's
a
so
murder
good.
mystery
Yes,
slash reality show kind of
yes.
survivor, but they're not voting people off, they're just murdering them.
No, but they do still vote people off. That's what it's so good,
Oh
and it's
yeah, because they try to vote off the traitor or who they think the traitor is. Do the
yes,
traitors know who the other traitors are, or they
yes.
just know
So
that they're a traitor? Okay.
they meet every night to figure out who they're gonna murder,
Oh, do you get
and
to see that part, or are you also like the other people where you're just like, I don't know who the traitors are?
we see and know everything.
Okay.
But it's so good. I'm loving it. I
Okay.
watch a lot
Cool.
of TV. I'm not, how people are like, oh, I'm too cool. Like, I don't watch TV. I watch
I am not one of those
an
people.
obscene amount of TV, and that is one of my favorites.
Okay. Cool. Where do you watch Traitors? Where can I like what streaming platform is that
I
on?
I watch it on Peacock.
Peacock.
It's
Okay.
like it's like an NBC show, I think.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. It's like I love a good like murder mystery type thing, and I also like the reality kind of like where you know something, but then the person that you're watching doesn't know the thing, and you're just like, oh no, you were tricked, and it's not this person. And yeah, so that sounds fun. Okay, cool. Traders on
Good.
Peacock. I'm
I
gonna,
hope who's
check it
ever
out.
listening, they, like, check it out. It's so good. I need more people to watch it so I can talk about it.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Um, I am also loving a TV show this week. It's one that I recently found. I think it's from a few years ago. It's called Electric Dreams. It's on
Cool.
Amazon Prime or Prime
Okay.
Video or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and like it's very similar to the Netflix Black Mirror show,
Okay,
which
okay.
I loved, where it's just like each episode is its own kind of mini movie type deal, and they're very sci-fi. They're very kind of like it's not so much Black Mirror where it's like this could happen in the next kind of 10 years if society goes in this direction, but it's more of just like interesting sci-fi things. Like there was this one about these two guys that were giving tours of planets because it's in year
Oh,
like
that's
2900 or something, and we have all left Earth and are traveling through space, and they like you would get like a tour guide of like celebrity homes. They do a tour guide of celebrity planets, and they're like, oh, if you look out the left window, you'll see this nebula thing, and yeah, it was interesting because they like got hired to go back to Earth, and is a whole big deal. But yeah, some very interesting shows. There's one season of it. I think there's like maybe 10 episodes. But yeah, if you like Black Mirror, you'll probably
I
like
love
this one too.
sci-fi, so I definitely want to check this out.
Okay, it is definitely more sci-fi than a lot of the
Perfect.
Black Mirror episodes, which some of the
Okay.
Black Mirror are sci-fi.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones is sci-fi, but yeah, it's good. Electric
Okay.
Dreams, and
Thanks
they
for
have some pretty big name celebrities on there too. I was very surprised. I was like, oh, I didn't know this person would be in here. So kind of fun.
cool.
But yeah, now y'all all have some good recommendations for shows to watch this week.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so Kelley, where can people find you? Where can they follow along? Where can they see that like floral library pink
Oh,
dress photo and all of that online?
awesome. That is definitely for sure on my Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at Kelley. It's KELLEY photos. That's my Instagram. That's also my website. So .com would be my website. Yeah. And I have an education, which is Kelley Williams _education Instagram. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
Can you hear them? They're working on my
Awesome.
stairs now.
I could hear something in the distance.
Yes. I'm like, thank
But
goodness. They waited until the podcast was
I
over.
know, just the last couple minutes. It's great.
Yes.
But yeah, well, sweet. I'll have links to that so everyone can go follow and say hey, and go check out your work, check out your education as well. But yeah, well, Kelley, thank you so much. This was really fun. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Absolutely. Me too. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.